So, good morning. Today we are going to tie a very famous fly which is called Frances. It's based on the pattern of the so-called Black Eyed Prawn fly, which is, as I understand, original from the United Kingdom. But the Frances is like a kind of like a version from that. It's a salmon fly which is probably used the most in Iceland. And first of all, we have to attach the thread to the hook shank. And we are tying this fly on a relatively large hook, just simply for you guys to be able to see what I am doing and working on. First of all, we have to take the feathers, like a 4 feathers of a brown rooster, and we have to strip the fibers off the feathers and just keep the stick left and attach the stick to the back of the hook shank like this. Just few wraps around it just to be able to tune the length of them. Then we will just do the same. Put the next two sticks to the bottom of the hook shank, and then securely wrap them and tie them down. Then we will have to trim off the rest, as you see what I'm doing. We'll just have to trim off the rest of the sticks. Then we can do like a tighter turns with the thread. Absolutely. And we are not going further with the thread than the barb on the hook on this fly. So after that, we will have to attach the tail of the fly. But the tail of the fly is from a ring pheasant, and the tail is the trouble with it is like you must not put it too long. So you can see how I do it. I will just attach it lightly first, both on the top and the bottom, and then kind of tune the length of it, the length I prefer to keep on it. Then I will fasten it down with a tighter wraps on the hook. I'll do the measurement as you see what I'm doing here, like unwrap some few wraps to be able to pull them forward to tune the length of them. Then you'll just wrap them down like this and wrap the thread forward. Take the rest of the feather, trim them off. Be sure that you do not cut the thread. That happens sometimes, but you'll just have to be careful. Push the thread away with your finger. Then the body of the fly. That's the next step, and I use Aurora yarn for it. The Aurora yarn is really very suitable for it because it comes in like strands, and each strand contains 6 fibers. So for the first part of the body, I'm using 3 fibers for this hook size. You can use 4 or 5 if you like, it just depends what you prefer. Then you wrap them around like this until you reach the thread, which is on the middle of the hook shank, no further than that. Then you wrap it back towards to the end of the fly. And the trick with the Aurora yarn is that if you don't want it to scramble around, if you want it to stay in place, you have to turn it. You have to like squeeze it between your fingers and turn it and keep the turn on it. So you wrap it inside your fingers, keep the turn, and that's a way to build up a body that will stay in place. And this is just the first part of the body, as you see. Then I take the thread and secure the Aurora yarn and wrap it a little bit further forward to attach it firmly and securely to the hook. Then it's about time to trim it off. Then we'll just secure those ends, cut them off or trim them off to just get them out of the way. And as a wrap for this fly, we use oval gold tinsel, and we attach that until, as you see, just the very boundaries of the body. I don't wrap the thread any further back. That's just that part of the fly is simply finished. Then we have to take a brown rooster feather, like a medium size. It's a very neat trick to, as you see what I'm doing, to stroke the fibers of the feather backwards. That way you can control the feather much better. It makes it a little bit softer. You must not pull it too hard so you don't break it, but it's gonna be much easier to work with when you make the hackle on the fly. And notice one thing, the hackle on this fly is not where the head is like it's on many flies. It's like a little bit behind the middle of the hook shank. Next step is to add the yarn for the rest of the body of the fly. And that yarn is again Aurora yarn, but I'm using, as you see, just only 2 stripes of it. Then we wrap the Aurora yarn forward, as you see what I'm doing. And you don't need to twist and turn that, like twist it between your finger like the first part. This will most likely just stay in place where it's supposed to be. And when you reach the area where the head of the fly is supposed to be, we'll just secure and lock down the yarn with the thread. Just like this. Wrap it few tight wraps to secure it. Then we'll just trim off the rest of the yarn, just all the way up to the ankle. And just wrap the thread back. That's okay, because it's a red thread, it's a red body, it's only strengthening the body, and it does nothing else than that. Then we'll take the feather, raise it up, and stroke the fibers backwards. Wrap it like a couple of wraps around the body of the fly, and that's the hackle of the fly. Couple of turns around, at least, maybe almost like 2.5. Then you just do this with a thread, secure it in a place, once or twice at least, and then with a little bit heavier wraps around it. Then you trim off the feather, just like this, but you must be sure that the feather is in place and stuck before you trim it, otherwise it'll just bounce back like a spring. Then the next step, and almost the last step of the fly itself, is to wrap the oval gold tinsel forward to where the head of the fly is supposed to be. Lock that down with your thread and wrap it like a few wraps around to build up the head. Then we'll just trim off the golden tinsel and form the head of the fly. That's done by a few wraps, built up like a decent good head, so it will definitely hold the oval golden tinsel in place. Then the very last step is to do the whip finishing job. Missed it there, but we'll just do it again. I do it twice, just 2 knots, and that's always been just fine with all the flies I made. And they last quite a bit. They're durable. Then the very last step doing the Frances fly is to put the varnish on the head, and I myself prefer to apply 2 layers of varnish on the head of the fly, just like a head cement on the fly, simply because the thread will drink some of the varnish inside it. So I apply like a second round of varnish when the first round is finished. Then you will get like a shiny head on it, and it's gonna last for sure. Then there you have it, Red Frances fly. It's ready. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe.